Welcome, beautiful Paris Saint-Germain family. We haven't had a reaction video in a while, and I found this interesting video. The problem Luis Enrique's PSG will face next season. So let's take a look, and either we agree, we disagree. I would say it's too much, too little. Let's see.
From kings of Europe to chaos in New York, Paris Saint-Germain had it all until they didn't. They dominated the League One, conquered Europe, and then collapsed on the biggest stage. But this wasn't just one bad day. It was a warning. Today we break down the tactical flaws, emotional cracks, and storm clouds PSG will face next season.
Okay, so, I mean, already there's going to be a lot of lies and delusions in this video saying that game was more than a game and all of this. All of these people have just waited. They've just waited for that game to happen, and then all of them came out of their cave. I would say if you find a consistent pattern, if we lose, for example, versus Spurs and struggling in the beginning of Ligue 1 and struggling in UCL again, I mean, it still doesn't mean that much because we've seen what PSG does. We maybe don't look the best in the beginning of the season and then cook towards the end of the season, but let's see what he has to say, man.
Paris Saint-Germain have made pressing their trademark, a suffocating high-octane style designed to overwhelm opponents, win the ball high, and keep teams trapped in their own half. It's what they've done to elite sides all season long, until it was done to them. In the Club World Cup final, Chelsea didn't just beat PSG, they mirrored their intensity, outpressed them, and completely flipped the tactical narrative. For the first time in
100% true. 100%. I think the most impressive about Chelsea in the game versus us is how they were off the ball. And the least impressive thing about PSG was how bad we were off the ball. So 100% off the ball movement, pressing, marking. Chelsea were extremely dominant in that final. And we were horrendous off the ball.
Months, PSG were the hunted, not the hunters. Luis Enrique's side looked shocked. Their midfielders were rushed, their defenders rattled, their passing options closed in a heartbeat. What PSG typically uses to control games was now being used to destroy them. Here's the issue. PSG's pressing game is systemically strong, but vulnerable against teams that can match their energy and decision-making speed. And that's exactly what Chelsea did. They didn't just press, they pressed with purpose, in layers. Enzo Maresca's setup was clever not just in shape, but in psychology. Chelsea invited PSG to play out, baited the center backs, and then triggered press traps the moment midfielders received the ball. PSG fell right into it. And it worked again and again. Cole Palmer, João Pedro, and Pedro Neto didn't just chase, they anticipated. It was like PSG were playing against a mirror, but the reflection was faster. Let this sink in. Chelsea finished 4th in the Premier League last season. This is not Liverpool, not Arsenal, yet they
Again, I mean, this is what I don't understand with these people. They first of all, trying to downplay Chelsea to downplay PSG even more, but we saw this PSG team versus Liverpool, versus Arsenal, versus City. That's why it's so hard for me to even give these kinds of opinions that, oh my god, PSG's 3-0 defeat versus Chelsea is so bad. This has showed all the gaping holes in this team. This PSG team did not have a purple patch. We did not have an easy run into the Champions League final and played like Villarreal and Stuttgart and won the UCL like that by one game. No, we beat all the best teams in Europe. We beat Bayern. We beat Real Madrid. We beat Atletico Madrid. We beat Inter. We beat City. We beat Arsenal. We beat Liverpool. We beat Villa. So please, I don't understand these overrated takes taken away from one game, even though Paris Saint-Germain have shown. No, we just had an extremely terrible game versus Chelsea. 100% Chelsea, tried some tactics, and all the other teams that couldn't beat us will try to copy or, at least try the same tactics that Chelsea did to try to beat Paris Saint-Germain. But trying to say like, oh my god, because PSG lost to Chelsea, they're suddenly this bad, and Liverpool aren't even this good and everything.
League last season. This is not Liverpool, not Arsenal, yet they tactically dismantled the kings of Europe using their own blueprint. For all of PSG's dominance, this season this match exposed a deep vulnerability, one the Premier League has been circling for months. If they don't adapt, this tactical weakness will not just return, it will define their downfall.
If you don't adapt... Fuck, man.
Tactical flaws might explain how PSG lost the Club World Cup final, but fatigue? That explains why they couldn't even compete. 65 games, 1 relentless season, 3 domestic trophies, 1 Champions League title, and for the final push, Luis Enrique gambled. He used almost the exact same lineup throughout the Club World Cup. No rotation, no rest, no recharge. It worked until it didn't. Yep. Against Chelsea, PSG looked spent, physically flat, mentally dull.
I mean, I want to say two stuff about this. First, I think this season for the PSG players, it was more mentally draining than physically draining, because we always look at minutes played and game time and so on. And PSG actually had one of the best across Europe top 5 leagues when it comes to big clubs. None of our players played more than 75% of available minutes going into the Club World Cup. All of the players were basically between 50 and 75%. Luis Enrique actually rotates a lot. But as I said, the mental stuff, is what it's taken. But then obviously just at the Club World Cup, well, you're playing 7 games, all tight. And, you know, we had actually tough games to play. We had Atletico Madrid in the group stage. Then obviously we lost to Botafogo, which meant we had to put out a stronger lineup versus Seattle, use more subs against them. And then we had Real Madrid and Bayern München in the knockout stages, and then Chelsea in the final. So I do agree in the fatigue and so on, but let's see what the point is going to be for next season, because that's going to be worrying.
Able to recover, react, or resist. Their legs were heavy, their minds even heavier. While Chelsea rotated, while Chelsea conserved, PSG rode their starters into the ground. By the final, the difference in freshness was visible in every sprint, every duel, every transition. One team still had energy, the other was running on fumes. And this wasn't just a one-match issue, it's a structural risk. PSG's depth may be expensive, but it's not trusted. When it mattered most, Enrique looked at his bench and games again.
So that's something I agree with. I think we need to strengthen, you know, the substitutes coming on and impacting the game or rotating. You know, Dembele was missing in the first games in the Club World Cup, and Gonzalo played, and he was nowhere good. I think when Luis Enrique looks at his bench, he's like, I don't know if you can strengthen. I think he looks at Barcola as someone that can strengthen the team coming off the bench. Warren just adds energy, I guess. That's about it. You have Gonzalo that can come on as well, but we definitely need to strengthen the bench 100%.
Why does a squad with one of the biggest wage bills in world football look this overused? Why do the backups barely feature in decisive games? Why does every big match look like a test of
I mean, it was just in the final, it looked overused.
endurance for the same 11 players?
Okay, see, this guy now is just talking garbage, man.
The result? A final that looked like a mismatch. Not because PSG lacked talent, but because they lacked legs. The truth is, fatigue doesn't ask how good you are.
I mean, it wasn't just legs. It was tactically, especially when you look at all 3 Chelsea goals. Again, these people are trying to... Again, we were bad on this day, but they're talking... I don't know what they're talking about. The game clearly was one simple thing. It was... When we had the ball, we couldn't do that much with it. Like, Chelsea defended well, pressed well. When Chelsea had the ball, we didn't press that well. You know, Gusto was completely open. Nuno had to defend Gusto and Palmer 2v1 all the time. And that led to basically all 3 Chelsea goals.
It just catches up, and it caught up to PSG at the worst possible time. Next season will bring even more games, more trophies to chase, and more...
I mean, that's just a lie. The Club World Cup will not be played next season. Ligue 1 will have as many games. It's going to be the new Champions League format once again next season. Maybe actually we make it top... what is it? Top 8? So we don't have to play a round of 32 games. So it will definitely be less games. What is this dude talking about? There's the World Cup, but that's not like PSG related, so it don't matter.
Clubs hungry to expose every inch of weakness. If PSG don't trust their depth, if they keep grinding their stars into the ground, then fatigue won't just be a one-time issue. It'll be a pattern, and patterns become problems. Big clubs lose players. Great teams survive it. Champions adapt. But in the Club World Cup final, when PSG missed just 2 vital positions, the whole system became too vulnerable. No William Pacho, no proper defensive midfielder. One disaster. The result...
No proper defensive midfielder? What is this dude talking about? Vitinha's played as a 6 this entire season and was absolutely integral and huge for us winning the Champions League. What is this waffling, man?
Midfield overrun, a defense disorganized, a team that couldn't hold its shape, couldn't protect its zones, and couldn't respond. You might say William Pacho's absence wasn't felt in the game against Real Madrid, but truth be told, if Real Madrid had done a few things differently, the result could have been very different. Let's talk specifics. Without Pacho, PSG lost their only real physical enforcer at the back. His red card in the quarterfinal was reckless, but it exposed a deeper issue. No one could replace his profile. Marquinhos is...
I mean, that is true. We don't have a profile replacement for Pacho, the athletic, physical centre-back that can defend in space.
Aggressive stopper. Lucas Beraldo reads the game well, but doesn't cover wide space like Pacho. And when those spaces opened up, Chelsea exploited them.
That is 100% true. That is 100% true. I think that's why we're going in for someone like Zabarni. Might do another centre-back transfer. But I definitely think Pacho, for example, for that Palmer goal, he was in a 1v1 with Vitinha. I already knew it was cooked. And Beraldo made so many mistakes.
Constantly received between the lines, drawing midfielders out, dragging defenders in, and pulling PSG out of their structure. In midfield, the issue was worse. No pure defensive midfielder meant Vitinha was forced to play deeper than usual.
What is this dude talking about, man? Like, I remember throughout the season, and this is something even we sometimes maybe have discussed, and that is having the profile of a 6 and having the profile of a number 9. But that's what Luis Enrique dismissed with winning the Champions League this season. I don't need a defensive 6. I don't need a target man, a traditional number 9. I can win with a false 9 Dembouz and playing Vitinha there. Yes, against Chelsea, it was one of the games, you know. It was mostly because Chelsea were very good at counter-attack against PSG, which basically no team in the Champions League did against us. And that's where, you know, that weakness of Vitinha is shown. But I have no clue what this dude's talking about.
Built to create, not destroy. That imbalance left massive gaps between the lines. Chelsea didn't just notice this, they built their entire game plan around it. Enzo harassed, Caicedo covered, Palmer floated. They knew PSG couldn't adjust mid-game because they had no tools to adjust with. This is the uncomfortable truth. PSG are rich in stars, but shallow in structure. Once one pillar falls...
I mean, it's... I'm just wasting my time now. Just wasting my time.
The whole house shakes. No backup for Vitinha. No secondary enforcer in the back line. No third option at right back or defensive midfield. This wasn't just bad luck. It was poor planning. When you're built for domination, you rarely plan for survival. And PSG weren't ready to survive without their starters. If PSG want to maintain dominance next season, they don't just need marquee signings. They need role players, fighters, anchors, depth. Because if Cole Palmer can dismantle...
What the fuck? Cole Palmer can dismantle. We'll finish this video off.
Paris Saint-Germain conquered Europe this season. Champions League winners, League One champions, French Cup winners. But if you look closely, there's one recurring wound, one tactical riddle they never quite solved. The Premier League problem. On paper, they got past Liverpool, Aston Villa, and Arsenal. But on the pitch, those wins were anything but comfortable. And every time, PSG were pushed to their tactical limits. Pressed, pressure, pinned. Liverpool took them to penalties. Why? Because PSG couldn't play through their central press. Mac Allister and Gravenberch suffocated Vitinha. Enrique's midfield triangle was outnumbered and outpaced. The only escape? Long balls to Kvaratskhelia. Predictable, repetitive, risky. Aston...
What the f...
Because PSG couldn't play through their central tactical limits. Villa and Arsenal. One tactical riddle they never quite solved. The Premier League problem. On paper, they got past...
The Premier League problem?
Liverpool, Aston Villa, and Arsenal. But on the pitch, those wins were anything but comfortable. And every time, PSG were pushed to their tactical limits. Pressed, pressure, pinned. Liverpool took them to... anything but comfortable. And every time, PSG were pushed to their tactical limits. Pressed, pressure, pinned.
It's generally hilarious, these PSG haters, because yes, no, to say stuff like this, you need to hate PSG or dislike it to some certain extent. I mean, we can go through every Champions League winner, and they will have games where they, I mean, even lost the year before as Madrid, they won the UCL, and in so many games they got dominated. Like in these games, these teams gave us tough moments. Madrid got dominated and still won the UCL. But I never hear these. Oh my goodness.
Competitive, risky. Aston Villa, that was pure survival. PSG led the tie, yes, but for more than 30 minutes in the second leg, they were battered, high line exposed, fullbacks trapped.
No, we were 5-1 up, took the foot out of the gas. Aston Villa, huge fighting spirit in their home stadium, and suffocated us. But we survived. Like,
McGinn and Rashford ran riot. Then came Arsenal, a tactical chess match. But even then, PSG looked vulnerable in transitions. Odegaard floated in pockets behind the midfield. Saka broke lines. Martinelli pinned defenders.
Odegaard didn't flow any middle. Saka didn't break any lines. What?
PSG escaped with clinical finishing, not tactical control. Every time PSG face a Premier League side, the same three issues emerge. They struggle against high-pressing units. They can't sustain controlled possession under physical pressure. They over-rely on verticality.
When you read this, when you see this, you would have thought, like, we lost against all these Premier League teams.
Kvaratskhelia and Dembele to bail them out. Let's talk about the real tactical blind spot. PSG don't have an orthodox defensive midfielder, not one. When under pressure,
I mean, that is what makes us so good.
Sure, you need a player who can shield the backline, dictate tempo, and offer vertical.
No, you only need that if you're getting dominated, but PSG's main point is have position and dominate the opposition. It's called high risk, high reward. Another reason why we won the UCL, because we played high risk, high reward football under Luis Enrique.
Passing. PSG have none that do all three, and Chelsea, through Cole Palmer, exploited that gap mercilessly. On paper, PSG have depth, but when tested, the
Cole Palmer
replacements either lack experience or tactical fit. No backup for Vitinha. No clear replacement for Hakimi's overlapping threat. Luis Enrique had to stick with the same 11 for almost the entire tournament, not by choice, but because the alternatives weren't trusted. That's not rotation. That's risk. This is the paradox of modern PSG. They've built a Ferrari in the front, but the engine room is fragile and the chassis is...
Oh my...
thin. Here's the key. Premier League teams don't just press hard, they press smart. They prepare, they bait, they force you where they want you. And PSG, for all their quality, are still playing like a team that expects opponents to collapse under pressure, not set traps of their own. Luis Enrique is a possession romantic. His teams dominate the ball, move patiently, and use width to stretch teams apart. It works beautifully against most of Europe, but Premier League teams, they invite possession. They wait for the second pass. pass, then they press and wait. And that's where the war is being lost in the system clash. Enrique's idealism versus Premier League pragmatism, control versus chaos, flow versus...
Like, the past like 2-3 minutes, whenever he started discussing about Premier League teams, I haven't understood anything. Like, have I been living under a rock, or have PSG beaten, you know, the best Premier League teams?
Fire. PSG's next opponent, another English team, Tottenham. Thomas Frank's Spurs, a team that presses with manic intensity, builds quickly, and thrives in chaotic moments. If PSG haven't solved this yet, the nightmare might not be over. The Premier League problem isn't a one-off. It's a tactical pattern, a systemic flaw. PSG can dominate the chaos. In football, from champions to a dynasty, generals, the problem can no longer be ignored.
Discipline crisis.
Football, managers are the generals. They command, they protect, they remain calm, even when the battle spirals. But in the dying moments of PSG's season in the Club World Cup final, Luis Enrique did something unthinkable. He snapped. He didn't argue. He didn't protest. He laid hands on an opposition player. A moment of pure emotion, completely out of character. But the consequences? Massive. Reports suggest that FIFA could issue a global touchline ban, not limited to the Club World Cup. That means Enrique might not be allowed on the sidelines when PSG begin their title defense next season in France, in Europe, or anywhere under FIFA's umbrella. Paulo Fonseca was banned from domestic games for a far lesser offense. Now, FIFA's disciplinary panel ironically praised for having nothing to do. This tournament will be forced into action. This wasn't an isolated moment. PSG's tournament was littered with disciplinary chaos. 3 red cards, multiple altercations, boiling tempers. From the quarterfinal to the final whistle, it felt like a team slowly losing control of its emotions. William Pacho's reckless lunge on Goretzka earned a 2-game suspension. Hernandez's needless elbow against Guerrero right in front of the ref. And then the most childish of all, Joao Neves pulling Cucurella's hair. When your players lose discipline, your tactics lose meaning, and PSG's system built on calm control, layered buildup, and possession dominance completely collapses when forced into emotional firefighting. So why does this keep happening? Why does a club with the best...
Why is he bringing up a fight after the game? Like, that you can say maybe the 2 red cards versus Bayern, but it was just a very chaotic game. And I think Lucas Hernandez came on as a sub as well. Pacho, you know, it just happens. He's very aggressive in his tackle sometimes, and it happens. I don't understand, like, these fugazi narratives he's trying to create here.
Talent in Europe crumble under pressure. It's not about tactics. It's about identity. PSG were once the underdogs. Now they're the hunted. And yet they haven't evolved mentally. They want to dominate, but not to be challenged. They expect respect, but struggle to give it in defeat. You can fix a formation. You can buy a new midfielder, but you can't buy resilience. You can't train emotional maturity overnight. And right now, PSG, for all their trophies, showing the emotional discipline of a team not ready for sustained dominance. Discipline reflects leadership, and leadership flows from the top. When the manager is pushing players literally, it's no wonder the team unravels under pressure. Luis Enrique is one of football's most respected minds, a European champion with...
All right. Is this done? Yeah, it's done. Okay, so basically to summarize this garbage video, discipline here towards the end. We don't play with a defensive 6. I mean, I agree on the backups. I think we need to strengthen the backups, even though he made it look worse than it is. And then like the Premier League problem, that was fucking disgusting. Chapter 4 against Premier League side, like this has to be the worst thing I have ever seen in my life. Chapter 1, tactical exposure. Yeah, just not understanding football, not understanding what happened in that Chelsea PSG game, and just going off. Well, the only problem I agree with in this is I guess we need to strengthen the backups going into next season. Yeah, that's about it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. I did not. But yeah, that's me from boy PSGINT. And as usual, allez, Paris.